Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Abuchi Okaro here, the founder of Depth Foundation. It's nice to meet everyone again for today's Depth Foundation lecture on Giftofgod Facebook page. Thank you all for joining to hear what we have to lecture you on. I hope you're enjoying your new year. By the way, welcome again to the new year. And no matter what happens this year, always give thanks, because the greatest prayer is Father, thank you. And thank you is an attitude of something received. It's an indication something has been received. Okay, so when you say thank you, it means what you want has already been received, and this is the language your consciousness understands. So your greatest prayer this year should be thank you. And this is also why we have chosen to have our lecture today, which is prayer is a psychological movement. And the way we are going to go about it is, first of all, as you know, we've always said that your consciousness is what was personified in the Bible as God, Jehovah, Jesus Christ, you know, and all of those things. And that consciousness is what is responsible for all the experiences you're having in your physical world today. So today, to get us to the point where we then show you why we say prayer is a psychological movement, we will first establish to you why we have said your consciousness is what is personified in the Bible as God. After that, we then do a thorough deep dive into the dual nature of your consciousness and how this prayer as movement, psychological movement, is what drives, or it's what is the core ingredient that drives this dual movement, okay, that we call prayer. Please, as you listen, we want to urge you to keep an open mind. We know that you have been taught a lot of things, you know, in the Christendom, right from your childhood days, okay? And the teachings of Depth Foundation could come in as something that is challenging what you have already been taught, you know, something new that is challenging what you have already been taught, okay? But we want to assure you it is not something new, rather it is the original message. And what is that original message? The original message is that the Bible is a psychological drama of the different of your consciousness and the different attribute of your consciousness. So it's not a book of contemporary history of men and women who lived in time and space. Okay? It couldn't even have been, because all is within you. Everything is within you. What you are seeing in the physical world around you are just shadow of your inner world. They are the mirror image of your inner world. And that's why if you look at the things outside of you, they keep fleeting. They are ephemeral in nature. Like they keep changing. And why do they keep changing? This is why this topic today, prayer, is a psychological movement, or what you can call prayer as a psychological movement. What that means, when we say prayer is a movement, it means it is change. So all of the changes, the ephemeral nature of your physical world, which is always changing, is as a result of the prayer you have been doing. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because you have been taught all your life a model of prayer where you kneel down, close your eyes, and try not to dirty, you clean up after kneeling down. And then you say some verbal words and you stand up and you go. You have not prayed as it has been written in the Bible for you to pray. So what you have been doing is man's construct, the tradition of men. And this tradition of men are things that are built out of misunderstanding of the true meaning or the original message of the Bible, which is written or which is hidden with a gap of history. Phallics, numbers, symbols, etc., etc. Okay, sorry, someone is calling me. I need to decline for now. Yeah, so what you are taught is those histories that was used to hide the meaning, those symbols that was used to hide the true meaning. So you're literally taught the shell and not the content. This is where the entire organized Christian world, religious world, has been getting it all wrong. And this is what has inspired the Birth of Depth Foundation to bring to the fore, to again bring the true meanings and teach people about this, explaining to them what the mystics meant by everything, all the stories, all the allegories, all the parables they told in the Bible are things that are happening within you and not outside of you, because the world outside of you, as I have said, is simply a mirror image of what is within. So thank you for joining. We'll go into today's lecture. Prayer is a psychological movement shortly, but before we do that, I want to put out this caveat as quickly as possible. I always say this before I begin my lectures, that I am not a pastor. If you have kept an open mind and understood the little things I've said here about the true nature of the Bible, you will then know that what I am, teaching here has nothing to do with anyone being a pastor. Neither am I a motivational speaker, those people that come to tell you the things that is not working for them. Do you understand? What we are going to teach you today will be an eye-opener. You will be surprised at the mechanisms and technicalities around that word prayer. And by the way, to even start, okay, if you go to the biblical concordance, it defines prayer as movement. That's what it defines prayer to be, which is move from one point to another. And that's what you do when you pray, even if you're not praying the correct way. What you do when you pray is you're trying to move from a point to another. So if it's a point of childlessness, you're praying to move to, a point of being a mother. If it's a point of sickness, you're praying to move to a point of healthfulness. If it's a point of poverty, you're praying to move to a point of wealth. So you see, is movement, and that's what concordance, biblical concordance, define it to be, a movement. And let me so it says prayer literally means motion towards. So that's movement, motion towards. So motion from a point of lack to a point of abundance, motion from a point of war to a point of peace, ascension to, and in the vicinity of. So when you say in the vicinity of a movement, you need to move to a vicinity. So in the vicinity of, it also indicates movement. If you say ascension to, it also indicates movement. There are ascension, you will see ascensions in the Bible. There were a lot of, phrases, words of ascension that were written in the Bible, but people don't even realize it is an ascension. When you say stand up, when Christ says stand up and move, it is not a physical Christ who lives in time and space telling somebody to get up and no. Stand up and move is an ascension, which, as it relates to consciousness, is what? Lifting your vibration. We'll get to all of those things, even if it's not today, okay? But if you continue to follow us, we'll get to all of those things. So please share this message. We need it to get to people that need it. This is New Year. I know you have a lot of desire that is swimming within you that have not been embodied in your physical world. Today's lecture will help teach you how to embody it in your physical world. Okay, so let's start. As we said, let us first establish why you, yes, you are God. I am God. Everything, both animate and inanimate things, are all God. And you are Jesus. If you see yourself, you have seen Christ. If you look yourself in the mirror and you see yourself, that person you're seeing, that yourself you're seeing is the Christ the Bible talked about. It's not Rex Freeman who acted Christ, because 90% or almost all the pictures of Christ that exist in this world today are the pictures of Rex Freeman. And the man has come out on a number of occasions to say, I am not Christ. You people should stop hanging my pictures everywhere. But let's go at it. So let's start with the book of John. Let's start with the book of John. Okay, so John 1, this is something you all already know. You read this every day. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was what? God. Okay? Now listen to what he then says in John 1:14. It says, the Word became flesh and dwells in what? A man. So every man you see is the Word, because the Word has incarnated as man. That's why we tell you, it is you. When you look yourself in the mirror, who you see there is the person that is the Christ of the Bible. That's why Paul said he once regarded Christ as a man, where he no longer regarded him as a man. That's why the Bible also said, Christ is in you, the hope of glory. And that's why Christ himself says, I and my Father are one. Says, I came forth from my Father. So that coming forth from my Father is when the Father incarnated as a man. And you all go back to the Father. Then he says, if you see me, you have seen my Father. So everything that you see here is bearing witness to the Father. You and the physical you and the circumstances, the experiences, and all the people that you meet in your visible world are bearing witness to just one thing, the Father. And that Father is what that was personified as consciousness, as God in the Bible. Okay, so that said, let's, go via another now let's explain it again using other versions of the Bible. Let's go with Genesis 1:26. It says, and then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and blah, 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 blah. Now, go to Colossians 1:15. It says, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. So, let's make man in our image. Who is that image? Christ. And who is Christ? The wisdom and power of God. And who is that? The you see in the mirror. And Christ and the Father are one. That's why I am is Christ, I am is God, I am is you. And the Bible, in several, verses and books in the Bible, it kept on saying that he is within you, the temple of God is in you. God doesn't live in the temple made with human hands. The temple of God is in you. And of course, God is in his temple. So all of this you, okay, just Colossians 1:27, to them God chooses to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of his mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So anything God, anything Jesus Christ is nobody outside of you. And that's why it says, let's go to in Exodus 20. Let's start from verse 3. It says, you must not worship any gods except me. You must not make any idols. Do not make any statues or pictures of anything in the sky or of anything on earth or of anything down in the water. Don't worship or serve idols of any kind, because I, first person present tense, I, the Lord, am your God. I hate my people worshiping other gods. Don't even make unto yourself so Exodus 20 verse 4 exactly say, you shall not make for yourself any image in the form of anything in heaven, above, on earth, beneath, or in the waters below. The God that you are worshiping today is not the God of I. That's I amness. Because you are worshiping a God that is not, that is outside of you. And you have made an image of that God in your head. That old ageless man in flowing white gown, holding a golden staff, sitting in a golden throne with gold crown on his head. Then with angels, with wings, wearing a flowing gown, praising and praising him, because he said what he eats is praise from morning till night. Up in the heaven, in the sky. That's a graven image you have made, and that's what you're worshiping, and that's what the Bible tells you not to worship. I am. He said, go and tell them I am, and that's my name forever. I am is first person present tense. It is you, it is me, it is all things. There's no God except you. Anytime you see the Lord, I, all of those things in the Bible, it is talking about you. Your consciousness. That is what was personified in the Bible as God, or, Anglicanized as God, but it is Jehovah. And Jehovah is Jod, he, vu, he. What's that? Jod, the hand. The hand is what separates us. I'm telling you what that Jehovah means now. That Jehovah of the Bible is Jod. In the Hebrew spelling, it is Jod. Jod is J-O-D. Vo, V, Jod, he. So J-O-D, separate from, H-E, then V-A-U, then H-E. Jod, he, Vo, he. The Jod represents hand. And what is hand used for? Hand is a symbol of creating. This is what distinguishes us from all other life forms. The hand. But we'll have a separate class where I'll explain all of those things. And also let you understand that Joshua in the Bible, which is Jehoshua, Anglicanized as Joshua in the Bible, is Jesus. But we're taught that Joshua is not. Joshua is Jesus. We'll get to all of those things. Okay, this is why Depth Foundation have taken it upon itself to bring back this original message so that the Bible can start making sense to you once again, and all of this confusion will start coming to an end. So we have established that you are the God, and it is your consciousness that is within you that makes you God, and every other thing, because that same consciousness is in all things. It is out of it that everything manifests. Everything you see around you is actually within you. What you are observing, and this is just the world of 5 senses: sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of touch. It is a world of 5 senses where you perceive this limited world with your 5 senses only. So the actual thing is that this world of 5 senses is a mirror image of the world within you. As is within, so without. This world you're seeing is a projection of your inner world. So that's why if you need to make any changes here, you need to go within. You just don't start changing shadow. This is a world of shadow. That light consciousness that is in you is what is radiating this your entire visible physical world on your screen of space. It is, so it radiates on your inner psychological mental states. So whatever it is, the moment he radiates the light on it, the light then is now radiated on your screen of space, which is this physical visible world that you are experiencing with just your 5 senses. That's what it is. But now so you will understand how then prayer, is the force that works all of this out. But before we go to that, let's even understand what consciousness is. Now, the consciousness that is personified in the Bible as God is dual in nature. It is one, but when it's acting, it is dual in nature. Now you understand now that consciousness is what is God. So it is dual in nature. What makes it dual in nature? It's dual in nature because it has because everything is consciousness, as I've explained. So it has the conscious aspect, which is this your visible physical world, which is this your objective world, your world of object. That's one aspect. Then the other aspect is the subjective world, what you can call the subconsciousness. That is the womb of creation. This aspect is what we can see it is still consciousness, but we are now teaching you about what the dual nature of it. Okay, both the conscious and the subconscious are all consciousness, but in the dual nature we cannot liken it to the creator. It is the one it is that light of the world that radiates your experience on the screen of space. So it is out of that because it is the womb of the creation. That's what the Bible referred to as the woman. Then the consciousness is the man. the husband is the consciousness, then the subconsciousness is the wife. So you see, the Bible takes the things, something like phallic, so, relationships now, and use this to personify the consciousness and the subconsciousness as the woman of the Bible and the man of the Bible, as the husband of the Bible and the wife of the Bible. So that consciousness is what we call the womb of creation. That's where everything comes out of. So how does all of this consciousness, the dual nature of conscious and all of those things work in relation to prayer? Because we said prayer is motion. It is motion towards, it is movement. It is in the vicinity of. So everything about prayer has to do with motion. It is because anything you think and feel, and that's your world of imagination, your imaginative world, which was personified as one of the disciples of Christ, that is Bartholomew, your imaginative faculty that you were asked to discipline so he can start serving you, is your thinking, feeling loop. That's your faculty of imagination, is what was personified as Bartholomew in the Bible, one of the 12 disciples. I have taught that the 12 disciples are the personification of the 12 aspects of your mind that you need to discipline so that they can serve you. So that faculty of imagination, Bartholomew, personified as Bartholomew, is your thinking, feeling loop. Now, how does this work? When the conscious, the objective world, perceive, because the only faculties you use in this objective world are these 5 senses. When it perceives something in the environment, the next thing, so if I see or hear, the next thing is thought kicks in. At the level of just thinking, nothing happens. But the moment that thought mixes with feeling, start generating feeling. So for example, I see something that is not pleasant. I start thinking of it, and before you know it, I start having feelings about that thought. What I am doing is I am mixing that thought with feelings. The moment you add feelings to a thought, do you know what happens? The thought is the idea. Now, adding feelings is that you have created a funnel through which that thought can be impressed down on the subconscious, and anything that goes down on the subconscious will be manifested in your physical world. The subconscious is impartial, is not selective, and it is no respecter of persons. Is whatever you sow, it will radiate it on your screen of space. And the only way to sow into that subconsciousness, which is the womb of creation, that's the woman of the consciousness, the woman, the aspect of consciousness that is woman. The moment you sow, anything you sow must be radiated on your screen of space. Now, there are a lot of dynamics around these things. There are times the subconsciousness is receptive. So there are times it receives from everything that is within the conscious, the objective mind. That time is when the objective mind has been subsided or closed. That's the time of sleep or moments before sleep. There's limited objective mind, because you know what? Your five senses are not operational. When you go to sleep, your five senses are not operational, but you are conscious when you are asleep. That's your conscious aspect when you are asleep. Is the subconscious, which is always awake. It never goes to sleep. It always watches. And it accepts every impression that is on the conscious level. That's what it has. So the moment you're going to sleep, your conscious aspect is shut down, which is your five senses, your objective world. Then all that is within that consciousness will be impressed on the subconsciousness. So it must be radiated on your screen of space. All of these dynamics I'm explaining now is what prayer is. Now let's go to So all of this thing I am saying is what prayer is. And that's why it says, let's quickly take this. Matthew 6 verse 6. It says, when you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. All of this thing I explained about consciousness, the conscious aspect of the consciousness, or the objective aspect of the consciousness, going to sleep. But that Father, which is subconsciousness, is always awake. He sees all things. And what does he see? What consciousness accepts to be true, which is the thought mixed with emotion. Those thoughts that is true, it is what it will reward you. But see what is instructive here. Say, but when you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to. This is where you go to sleep. Which door, which into your room? You're going in within yourself. Which door are you closing? Your doors of senses. You are closing the door of senses. So anytime the door of senses are closed, it means the consciousness is going to impress on the subconsciousness, and anything it presses on that subconsciousness is the is the Father. That's God. That subconscious level is what is actually personified as God. But we don't separate them because everything is God. Everything. But the actual womb of creation, the creator out of which everything comes out, is that subconscious. That's what is referred to as Father here. And the doors you're shutting is the doors of the five senses. That's why in the organized Christian world, they tell you to close your eye. You're only closing the eye of this eye. But you are hearing, you're smelling, you can feel. So here, prayer is telling you what is the condition that you need to be in before making prayer. Because we know before making that motion, you have to be in a certain condition. And that condition you need to be in before making that motion, which is that prayer, is to shut yourself out of this physical world. So, two things: the moment before sleep, you pray, you can impress on the subconscious world, the subconsciousness. Or when you are asleep, because what? The subconscious, the Father, he never sleeps. He sees all things. He sees all secrets. It's the Father. That's what is personified as God in the Bible. And that is you. It is within you. So, the idea of all of these things is for you to really understand what prayer means. So, to pray, you need to create a certain condition, and that condition is to shut the door. Then you go and pray, which is when you shut the door, then you go and make the movement, the motion. Now, the motion is the core of what we want to treat today. So we'll come to that. But first of all, we've understood that consciousness, and particularly the subconscious aspect, is the Father, is the God personified in the Bible, and is within you. Then we now start understanding how, when it comes to creating, how the consciousness dualizes itself. So there is one that has to impress, which is the objective, the conscious one, and then the subconscious, which is the womb of creation, out of which, so whatever that one impresses, which is why your thinking, feeling loop, as a man thinks, so he is. Thinketh in his heart. Thinketh in the heart. The heart. In fact, scientists have a machine, an equipment they can now use to measure your feelings from your heart. They've created a machine, a system that can measure whatever feelings you're having. It puts them in wave. The lower waves are the negative feeling, while the upper wave are the positive feeling. Remember when I said prayer is ascension to. Then there are a lot of places in the Bible where it say look up, where it say arise. It's all that. So the feeling is from the heart. Now see what that, as a man, thinks in the heart. So think in the heart. The heart is where the feeling comes from. So thinks in his heart. The combination of thought and feelings is what creates your physical world. Because when you think and feel, that's the conscious aspect of the consciousness is now, because there's feeling there, it will be sown in the subconscious and you will embody it. And that light, which is that subconscious, which is the Father, will radiate it on your screen of space. So the whole world around you is actually within. And what you're seeing in your physical, visible world is the shadow of what is within. So it is within that prayer happens. That's why it says, shut the door of the five senses. When you pray, go into your room and close the door and pray to your Father who is unseen. So you're not praying to that mental image you have in your head, that you're seeing in your head. So the condition for praying is you need to step away from your world of senses and go within. So, but before I move on, before we go into prayer proper, which is motion, let's finish dealing with all the condition as it relates to. So now, there are other key factors that needs to also, be part of this condition. It is belief, or what you call faith. And what does this mean? Ride with me. If you go to Mark 11:20-24, therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall receive them. So when you pray, when you make that motion, believe that you have already received them, and you shall receive them. So now, what does believe that you have already received them and shall receive them, what does it mean? Let's go here. If you go to Hebrews 11:1, it says, now faith is the substance of the things hoped for, the evidence of the things not seen. For by the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith, we understand that the words were framed by the word of God. The word of God is what? Your thinking, feeling loop. So your physical world was framed from the condition of your inner self. So that the things which are not seen were not made. So that the things which are seen were not made of the things which are visible. They were not made of the things. So the things which are seen were not made of the things which are visible. Your physical world is not made, is not the one that is causing everything around you. So your physical world which are seen, they are not made from the things that are seen, but the unseen which is within. That's why I started that your physical world is a shadow, a mirror image of the condition within. And that condition within is the dynamics, the activities of your thinking, feeling loop in as they relate to your conscious and your subconscious aspects of your consciousness, which is personified in the Bible as God. That's why it says, by faith we understand that the worlds, which is your physical worlds, were framed, were formed by the word, which is that faith. the word of God, which is that faith we're talking about, which is that belief. So what this is actually saying is that the condition to receive your desire in your physical, to bet it in your physical world, is what? To believe. And by believing, it's now explaining it here that you need to understand that the things that you want to embody has to come from what is not seen. So you need to believe that what is not seen is there. That process of what is not seen being representing the cause for what is seen, that movement from unseen to seen, is that prayer, is that belief, it is that motion that prayer literally means. Let's go to Romans 4:17. It says, as it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations. What he's saying here is that everything is within you. Everything, father of many nations. You are embodying everything, both the ones you have not embodied in your physical world and the ones you have, they're all within. Now hear this, it says, in the presence of him who he believed, and even God who quickeneth the dead and calleth those things which are not seen as though they were seen. Calleth the things which are not seen as though they were seen. That is faith in action. You are assuming, and that's why he told you in Joel, it says, let the weak say I am strong. So the weak know they are not strong, but in their imaginative faculty, their thinking feeling loop, after they have shut the door and go inside, then you will start exercising the faith in your thinking. You will now start assuming that what you want to happen to you, or what you want to embody, that desire you want to experience in your physical world, is already there. So this thing is happening in your imagination. That's where you're calling this thing not seen. Now, what will help us really bring it home for you to understand it properly is if you know about the physics law of reversibility. What is this law about? It says friction produces electricity, right? So if friction can produce electricity, what physicists have understood is that if friction can produce electricity, it means that electricity can produce friction. Now, let's relate it to all of this Bible context as faith and belief we're trying to explain here. If having that new house you desire, if building that new house is desire, can create happiness, joy, peace, ecstasy in your life, it means that being joyful, being aesthetic, being happy can equally, based off law of reversibility, can equally embody, create that particular new house, mansion you want to, you desire. Because if friction can create electricity can create friction. So if owning that house now or that new car can create happiness. It means being happy can create that new house. That's what it means. That's what they are telling you about faith. That's what faith is. Be it before you can receive it. I am, let the weak say, I am strong. So be strong before you can be strong. That's what that Bible verse is saying. The law of reversibility. So faith is actually the law of reversibility. If friction can create electricity, electricity can create friction. If having a new car can create happiness, it means that if you're happy, you can bet the new car in your physical world. That's what faith is about. That's the condition for which any desire you have, according to the Bible, when you pray, believe, have faith, then you would. So the condition for your prayer to be answered, for the condition for that movement to happen, is true belief. Now, hear this. Let's go to John 4:35. It says, do not you have a saying, it is still 4 months until harvest? I tell you, open your eyes and look at the field. They are ripe for harvest. That's what I just explained now. And you know why this is possible? Because creation is finished. Everything has been created. All you need to then embody your creation, and that's what prayer signifies, is that motion, that ascent to. So all creation, so everything you're witnessing in this your physical, visible world is within. The ones that you have also not witnessed, they are all within, because creation is finished. So what you now require to experience any of those, whether you're sick and you want to experience it, that health exists within you. You just need to bet it and have that experience in this physical world. And it is through prayer. You then need to ascend to that vibration where that thing is existing. That's that motion up. Rise and walk. He looked up and prayed. The mountain top, the rooftop, up is ascension. So everything is there right now. The only thing is if you ascend, and that's what you use faith to do. Understanding that if friction can create electricity, that means electricity, based off law of reversibility, can create friction. So if new car can make you happy, means being happy can bring new car into your physical world. So that being happy is that faith that you're exercising. You are calling things not seen as though they were seen. Being happy before the new car would manifest is you calling that new car as though it is here, because you're happy for a new car you have not seen, but you're happy, that happiness is in line to a new car. So you are actually exercising faith. You are, and that faith is what will make that motion, that movement. Let's go to John 14:2. He says, my Father's house has many mansions. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? What does this simply mean? As I told you, creation is finished. Everything is already finished. It's created. The one you're experiencing now is the one that you have ascended to via prayer, and the way to ascend is that true belief, which is faith. That's what pushes you to the level where you can see the one you desire. Remember, see this John 1:14. It's the same thing. My Father's house has many mansions. So everything has been created. All state is existing now. If there were not so, would I have told you that I am going? Watch that going. I am making the move. I am when you're going is motion. I am going to prepare a place for you. So when you are happy, which is normally the end product for the new car. So normally is when you get the new car, you become, it attracts happiness, you become happy about it. But when you are happy, what you have done is that you have gone to the end. That is where that's what he's saying here. And if I go and prepare a place, so instead of you wasting your time focusing on the limitation, I don't have the money for the new car yet. I don't have the commit, I don't. So those are, instead of you focusing on all of those, be happy as though you have received that new car. So you go to the end, because the end is normally supposed to be the car first, and then the happiness follows. So the happiness is the end, right? That's what this Bible, John is telling you. John 14 is saying that you should go to the end. Since you have the understanding that law of reversibility, if the car can produce the happiness, it means that happiness can produce a new car. So what you do is you go to what? To the end. Start feeling the happy of someone who already, that car is already here. That is what is up. And if I go and prepare, you have gone to prepare by feeling it as if it's already here. You have gone to prepare. Then I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. So once you are feeling that, that is already there, it will what? So the end wills the means. Live in the end. So simply, in the organized Christian world, they taught us of this as the heaven. He will go, that he has died to go to heaven to prepare a place, then he will come, don't rush and now take us. See, there's no heaven location. It is what you make of your life here. This thing is just telling you what, calling those things not sin as though they were sin. This thing is telling you this principle of reversibility that is in physics. So because creation is finished, all the mansions are there. There are many mansions, all of the mansions are there. So but you need to first go there before it can what? Come to you. Now, on these conditions, before we then go to prayer proper, on all of these conditions, your only problem, why is, so for example, let's say you have zero balance in your account now. You think that because you have zero balance, you can't own that new car. You can't build that mansion. That is the doubt. That's why I say, let's go there. It says in Mark 11:23, verily I say unto you that whatsoever you shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in your heart. Remember, that heart is representing feelings, and shall not have feeling that it will not be possible. That's what this is saying. But shall believe that those things which he said had come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he has said. So the only thing limiting you is those limitations of, hey, I don't have the, of course you need a new phone, you need to have the money, but if you do, the thing about your wonderful human imagination, which is this faculty, that is what we are talking about here, is that this, it has no limitation. Even distance doesn't limit it. How? You can, if you're here physically, it's only in the physical world that distance exists. In your imagination, there's nothing like distance. How? What do I mean by that? And remember, it's your imagination that creates your physical world. You've already known that. So you also need to then know that your imagination does not have limits. How? You want a new phone. In your physical world, the money is not in your account. But in your imagination, you can actually hold that phone and feel it. When you hold that phone and feel it, you are calling things not seen as though they are seen. You have implemented the law of visibility because you're holding it in your imagination and you're feeling it. It will will the means. That's what all of these things are. So that motion that we're talking about in prayer is that movement in the imagination. You make that movement in the imagination. So for example, you wish to be in London now, but your bank account is saying physically it's not possible. Maybe you'd also have the time. Maybe your commitment here will not allow you. But you wish to be there. You desire to be there. Go there in your imagination. Because your imagination, the word of imagination, has no time. It has no distance. There's nothing. It is, in fact, if they cut off your hand today, cut off your leg, cut off, your imagination cannot be amputated. It's still, that is your eternal body. That is God. That is Jesus in you. And that's your who you are. Now, in terms of those limiting factors or those, hey, but the money is not there. Here is what happens to when you do that. The Bible have advised you against it. But you can only know all of these things if you know the psychological meanings of the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy 24:19. What does it say? It says, when you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, do not go back to it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the works of your hands. 20 says, when you beat the olives from your trees, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigners and the fatherless and the widow. 21 says, when you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave that remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. And 22 says, remember that you were slaves in Egypt. That's why I command you to do this. People will read this Bible verse and take it for the literal thing. Okay, I shake the olive tree, the fruits are gone, I shouldn't go back. No. What is telling you not to go back here is those desires you no longer want. You need to move forward. Let the dead bury the dead. Let the things that are already in the past be in the past. Move away from it and befriend where you want to be here and now. Do you understand? So now, let us go to prayer proper, which is how now to make this movement that we're talking about. How now to what? Make this movement. We'll talk how to make this movement, then we'll now finalize it with the last element or condition for prayer. We've let you know that you're the God the Bible is talking about, and you're a creator. Okay, we'll let you know how faith and beliefs work, because those are the conditions for your prayer. And we'll let you know that prayer is to move from the point of desire to the point of actualization. We also use the law of reversibility to bring it home so that you can understand it properly. Okay. Let me just talk a bit, give example of what those kind of movement really is. Okay. And also draw from the Bible. Then when I finish, and then I will talk about the last thing. After you've fulfilled all of these things I have mentioned, the last thing that then leads to the final thing before the manifestation. They are all written in what? In the Bible. Then maybe I can then end with what prayer is not. Okay. So So when I told you that your imagination, you can do everything in your imagination. There's no time and there's no distance there. In your imagination, you can be in London. In your imagination, you can own those new cars. In your imagination, play with it. Feel those things as though you already have them. And based off law of reversibility, they would happen. But again, look at what proving to you that your imagination is limitless. It has no limitation. See Psalms 139 from 9 to 12. It says, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be. It's just talking about the limitless of your imagination. You can do all things in your imagination. You can remove all sufferings, all despair. That's what the darkness here represents. In your imagination, you can remove it. You can be anywhere you want to be in your imagination. Okay, and I also mentioned where I told you need to leave every old thing behind. Isaiah 43:18 says, remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of the old. Let them go. Let the dead bury the dead. Yes, they exist in this your physical world. It's already a product of your auto-suggestion on the consciousness. There is suggestion, which is the idea, the concept of self you impress on your consciousness. Then you impress a particular idea, the subconsciousness radiates it on your screen of space. Then, because you have not changed it, you're still within that thinking feeling loop. That same thing is continuing to be presented. That's auto-suggestion. That is thinking. There's a loop, cyclical loop that keeps going. You understand? So, always do away with the old things are those things you no longer want to experience in your physical world. Okay? Now, I told you creation is finished. The kingdom of heaven is within you. There's nothing you cannot embody. Because if the kingdom of heaven is within you, that's where the last verse, the verse we read, that says, in my father's house there are, so in his father's kingdom there are many mansions. Those mansions are within you. And remember, the state in is what has reflected this entire physical world that you're seeing. So another mansion, if you no longer like the mansion where you are currently, just go into another mansion using this faith or law of reversibility that we have just described, and then you will see it reflect in your physical world. Once this is done, according to Luke 1:37, no word from God shall be void. No imagination from you. The word of God is your imagination. No imagination will be void. It will go, it will never return to you unanswered. Look, Isaiah 55:11. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the things whereto I sent it. So the moment you implement this law of reversibility, you must achieve that thing. You must. There's no way. That's what Isaiah is saying here. And Isaiah 55:11 and Luke 1:3 also said, for no word from God shall be void of power. And even John 1:4 verse 4 says, little children, you are from God and overcome them. For he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. The word in you is what this physical word is a word of shadow. And it is the word in you that is reflecting this word of shadow. So that's why he says that he that is in you is greater than he that. This is just a word of shadow. That's why you see it fleeting. So let me quickly point. You hear this thing I have taught today. You have drank the water. Now doing it is drinking the wine. That's the greatest miracle. The first miracle that was done in the Bible. But today I could hear the argument between Dr. Damina and the Catholic reverends, where he was talking about the wine, the wine and the bread. You understand? The wine is doing all that you have heard here from me. Water is hearing it, then the wine is doing it. That is what Jesus converted water into wine. It has nothing to do with any physical wine. 1 Timothy 5:23, do not go into drinking only water, but use a little wine for the sake of your stomach and your frequent ailment. Your frequent ailment is your constant suffering of your the physical conditioned state of your visible world. So you need to practice this living in the end. This motion, this prayer motion. When you practice it, that's when you have taken of that wine. If you've just heard it and you're not practicing it, what you have taken is the water. So that's why he converted he's showing the need for you to practice it. That's why he says for your stomach and frequent ailment, you need to drink. You need to not just be drinking the water, but you need a little wine. So the water is hearing, but after hearing, you need to be the doer of the word. Do you understand? It has nothing to do with physical wine, and the entire organized Christian world is always there arguing about wine. Don't drink wine, drink wine. It's not in the Bible. It's not. That's not what the water is this word of God that you have. It is this imagination you have heard about. That is the water. Now, don't only hear it, do it. when you're doing it, you have taken the wine, because when you're doing it, you have taken the wine against your suffering in this world. That's what First Timothy is trying to let you know. Okay, so now how to make that motion? I will explain it with a practical example. So, or I will give an example of when I used it, because all these things I'm teaching, I am talking from experience. That's why I say the way to disprove it is to test it. Okay. Now, I had this bosom friend I've been friends with for a very long time in my life. Then, our relationship hit the brick wall one particular time. And I was responsible for what happened to that relationship. I was responsible for what happened to it. But it was not intentional. Okay? But this, my friend, got so upset with me that it was so bad. I didn't know. I didn't even have the courage to pick phone and call him. What will I say? So I left it, and I knew he was upset. He also left it, and that relationship was no longer going on for years. I'm telling you. But I was still suffering within me. How do I settle this thing? What on earth can I call to say was why I did what I did? And I said, that was the period I was learning about this power that is lying within us. I said, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to try it out. Let me test it now to disprove it. And then I used this prayer, the prayer. Because prayer is not, before I continue, what is prayer not? Exactly what we do in the Christendom. Matthew 6:5, it says, when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward from God. When you pray, go into your room, close the door. I've explained this. So prayer is not that standing and shouting and using repetitive. Let's go to it. Then in Matthew 6:7, it says, when you pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you need of before you even ask. So all of those, those are not, you're not praying. You are not praying. Prayer is meditation. You need to go. That's why it says, go within, shut the door. Like completely shut the door of the five senses. So it's two conditions you need to create. The condition before sleep or just sleep. That's when prayer happens. Do you understand? So, back to the example I was trying to give. So, I then decided to test the teachings that I've been learning about. So, I relaxed in my sitting room that day. I was there physically. I relaxed there physically. And then I shut the door, obviously as it advised in the Bible, shut the door of the senses, wait a bit, and assumed I was sleeping. So that's revere, the moment before sleep. But so revere, you can't move, okay? If you want to move, you move, but you don't have the urge to move. But you're still in control of your thinking faculty. Okay, you're relaxed. So I put myself in that mood, and then I assumed that my friend was with me. Physically, I saw him physically, but this is in my imagination. So I saw him physically appear to me, and I apologized, and he accepted my apology. I was playing this out in my imagination. He accepted my apology. I brought out my hand, all in my imagination. We shook hands and settled it, and what? I let it go. Then, after a while, I can't remember, because what you should know when you pray successfully, when you do these motions successfully, this is what you should know. Habakkuk 2:3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end. Remember when I told you the end? You go to the end. What's the end? The happiness before other. So instead of manifest, the new car that brings happiness, you hold it, you go to the end, the happiness before the new car. It speaks of the end. It will not prove false. So if you go to the end will not prove false. It does say, though it may linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. It will not delay. So after you have successfully prayed, all you then need to do is to keep the Sabbath day holy. The Sabbath day in the Bible is not, again, it's not this Sunday, this, that. No. It's the moment we will do a separate lecture on it. So let me leave that. But you keep the Sabbath day holy. Meaning, hold on to that faith. It's the time you now start, everything about your thinking should be in line that this has already happened. That's the Sabbath day. That's keeping the Sabbath day holy. We'll have a class on it so that you will know what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is, after you have successfully prayed, as I successfully prayed, I just behaved all my thinking around that particular subject or desire that I wanted. After I've successfully planted the seed in the subconscious, I just assume, if I think of the guy, I assume that we are fine. I was thinking of him from the point of we are fine. We are no longer quarreling. So one day, I went to one Christmas period, or before Christmas, I went to market with my wife to shop. And when we finished, we were coming out of the market. And we missed our way, within Mandelas. We missed our way to come out somewhere. We just, we missed our way. We didn't know, so we're just perambulating. And then we decided to ask one guy, please, we are done. We want to move out on the major road so we can go to the park. And the guy just showed us, took us. He said we should come. Now took us and brought us on the way. Do you know the moment we came out on that way, the first person I saw was a friend of my friend. And the moment I was seeing him, he just, hey, Abuchi, how are you? Long time. Bam, he held my hand and took me straight to his shop. Right there and then, that my friend was in that shop. And the guy said, look, I don't want any explanation. I know both of you have offended yourself. The guy talked, I talked, and we settled it. I bought that my friend some clothes, pay for some clothes for him that day, and all of it. And that was until today, our friendship got back to normal. So what do I do? By representing him in my imagination, seeing him appear, seeing us settle, and seeing us agreeing we have settled, I have gone to the end and then felt it. Feel how I would have felt if we had settled in physical life. I have gone to the end. What I have done is that law of reversibility. So instead of settling physically before and then I am happy that we have settled, I became happy that we have settled by bringing him to my front in my imagination. We settled it. And then the moment we did it, so the thing about the moment you pray successfully using this method, everything that is required for you guys, for you to achieve it, will appear. They are called the bridge of incidents. So the bridge of incidents that day was the guy that now helped us locate our road. Then that's my friends that now took me to his shop, to where we now settled, where my friend is, and we now settled the issue. That is the same way for all your desires. If you pray successfully, the bridge of incidences will appear. Now, when you pray, don't bother. That's why I read that Habakkuk. As far as you have gone to the end, you have prayed successfully, it will come. One thing you will know is that it will never be late. It was not late whenever, I can't remember the exact time from my prayer to when I settled with my friend, but it was not late because we settled and everything was fine. In fact, it then played a key role to the next things that I wanted to do at that period. So it was never late. So if you pray successfully, it will never be late. So how do you pray? It's just going to the end. So what is that desire you have, that one desire? How do you go to the end? What will be that event that if it happens, it will indicate that that desire has been achieved? Experience that event in your imagination. If you want a new phone, don't bother about the money not being in your account for that new phone. You see, in the world of imagination, there's no limitation. I was watching a video of the other time. One skit maker, he would just meet somebody and say, anything you mention now, I think you should know the guy. Anything you mention now, I'll provide it. He went to one guy that was doing mechanic and said, anything you mention now. The guy said, are you sure? He said, yes. He said, are you sure? He said, I need a phone. The guy went and bought the phone for him. The guy said the reason why he did not buy this phone all this while is that he didn't have the money. But he got the phone. So you mustn't have the money for you to experience that desire. All you need to do is to pray the correct way, as I am teaching today. So if you keep dwelling on you don't have the money, that is limiting yourself. That is just showing that you have not embodied it, because the only way to embody that desire is to feel that it has happened already. And that's to go to the end of the drama. So if it's a new phone you want, for example, go to the end. What is the end? Where you sat down in your imagination, close your eyes, shut yourself out of the world of senses. Relax. Assume that you are falling asleep. Once you have done that, then play that event that would occur after you have had the phone. So after you have bought the phone, you see yourself in your imagination admiring the phone. And then what? Infuse the feeling and start feeling happy about appreciative gratitude, because the greatest prayer is actually thank you. And what does thank you mean? As I explained before we started, thank you means it has been received, then you're giving thanks. That's why I say bring the offerings of praise and thanksgiving. It's not to carry things, monetary things, maybe money or yam or chicken or goat. No, that offering of praise is what I just described now. In your imagination, you're giving thanks that it has been done. And it's clearly written in the Bible. That's the condition for your prayer. And once you do it, drop it. Then go about your normal business. Anytime you think of that, and think of it as it has been done. That's keeping the Sabbath day holy. I will do it. I will do a lecture on that so that you can understand what Sabbath day is. Not a day set aside for anything. He rested on the 7th day after creating. So you have created it in your subconscious. That resting on that 7th day is you now holding on to that faith. And by holding on to the faith, you are, anytime you think of that and you think of it as it has been done, that, you know, just like my own happened, it will embody and it will happen naturally. I mean, there's no other way to happen other than for it to happen naturally, because you have been creating all your life experiences today. And the same way they happen, maybe it's trouble you got yourself into. There were bridges of incident that is either you fought with somebody and then somebody, and those bridges of incident will happen. It's the same way all of these things will happen naturally. That's how to pray. Let's go to the Bible. Let's look at Daniel 6:10. It says, and now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, that is the authority of the king, he went home, and in his upper room, remember upper room, prayer literally means ascend to, motion towards, ascend to. In his upper room, with his windows opened towards Jerusalem, oriented towards Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God. He knelt down. So what this is not a Daniel that lived in time and space now entering his upper room. No, all of these things were just used to gap the true meaning. And the true meaning is that upper room, just like I've explained to you, you know, you shut yourself out of that upper room and then fixing your imagination on achieving it. And he then say he gave thanks. I told you the greatest prayer is, Father, thank you. What did he do here? He gave thanks. When you are holding the phone, you are being grateful. Gratitude, feeling of gratitude is thankfulness. That's the offering of praise and thanksgiving. So he felt gratitude, and his prayer got answered. Jerusalem is within, again, they gapped it with the physical Jerusalem, but it is actually within. So Jerusalem is where you focus. So you now focus on the end, an event that would be, if that your desire had already happened, that's the end, as we have explained. That's how to pray. Another way is, let me give you another example of prayer. You want to go to a place, for example, travel to the village during Christmas. You don't have the money, you don't have the time, you do your commitment, maybe work commitment, you can't do it. All you need to do is the same method. Sit in your physical location in Lagos, shut yourself out of the world of senses. Assume that you are sleeping. So you're shutting yourself out of the world of senses, because that's the way you can access the subconscious directly. Moment before sleep and during sleep. The subconscious never sleeps. He watches over everything. That's God. That's what is personified in God. Personified in the Bible as God. Then short it. Hold. Now, assume that in your imagination now, assume that you are in the village. And how will you confirm it? In that your imagination where you are in the village, think of your family and friends in Lagos. That way, you have established, you have moved towards, you have made that, because prayer is motion. You have made that motion. You have made that movement. Then, feel your absence in Lagos, where your friends are, say, oh, he's traveled, you see them. Feel that your absence in Lagos. All of these things is you establishing you are in the village, and then drop it, and then keep the Sabbath day holy. By keeping the Sabbath day holy, you're going to persist. And that persistence means that anytime you think about it, you are in the village. This is the same model for any kind of desire you have. Always in your imagination, go to the end, meaning create an event that would have happened, that would happen if that your desire has already been manifested. Live in that event. Think from it. Now, let us start concluding by going to what next after you have prayed, finish. The next thing is persistent. And that is what Christ taught us the most important aspect of prayer. Let's go to it. Let's go to Luke 11 verse 1. Jesus teaching on prayer. 11 says, one day Jesus was praying in a certain place. When he finished, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray, just as John taught his disciples. Then 2, he said to them, when you pray, say, Father, hallowed be thy name, your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone who sins against us, and lead us not into temptation. Then Jesus said to them, suppose, 5 then said, suppose this is the key of what he was trying to teach. Not even those, our Father who art in heaven and all of those things. Now, listen carefully here. He says, suppose you have a friend and you go to him at midnight and say, friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread. A friend of mine on a journey has come to me and I have no food to offer him. And suppose the one inside answers, don't bother me, the door is already locked and my children and I are in bed. I can't get up and give you anything. I tell you, even though he will not get up and give you the bread because of friendship, yet because of your shameless audacity, he will surely get up and give you as much as you need. What is this speaking to? It is speaking to persistence, importunity. You are not taking no. Brazen impudence. You are not ashamed of taking no. That is what Jesus is trying to teach in this example he gave them here. You go to a friend, you're disturbing him, you kept disturbing, you have no choice than to do it. That's what this prayer, that is that Sabbath day. Sabbath day, you have prayed successfully. That's what he taught them in verses 1 to 4. After you have prayed for, the next thing is that persistent. That importunity, that brazen impudence, shamelessly insisting and going. They are yabbing you, but you're going. That is the kind of mindset that you should have about prayer. And that is the persistence. How do you persist? Think of the story of Jacob. I always use this example. He was wrestling with the devil. He was persisting. The angel, he doesn't want the angel to go. He was persisting that unless you bless me, I will never let you go. Is that persistence that we're talking about? Again, go to Luke 18, 2 to 5. Hear that brazen impudence again from this woman. In a certain town, there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared about people's thoughts. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with plea, grant me justice against my adversary. You are that widow when you're praying. For some time he refused, but finally he said to himself, even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come back and attack me. The persistence here. Brazen impudence, importunity. That is what you're seeing here. And the Lord said, let's listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, he will find faith on earth. So, persistence, brazen impudence. You must keep persisting that I have settled with my friend. That's what I did. Anytime I think of him, what I think of is that, oh, we've settled already now. In my imagination, I kept on persisting in my imagination. Just like Jacob, he wrestled with the angel and he didn't let the angel go until the blessing. So what that means is after you have enacted the end, so the end is what would happen after you have embodied your desire, after you've enacted that end, and then you drop it. What you then do is to then persist that, persist is living as it has already happened. Any thought of it that ever comes from the fact that this has already happened. That's the most important element of prayer after the motion has been made towards your desire. And that motion towards your desire is what? Is the event that would occur if that your desire has already been manifested in your physical world. Just like the law of reversibility, a new phone gives you happiness. It means that happiness can bet a new phone in your physical world. Just like friction produces electricity, electricity also produces friction. This is what prayer is about. Motion towards. Okay? And prayer, I'm not going to round off with this. Prayer is not just praying for yourself. You can also pray for others, and you won't even let them know you're praying for them, using this same model that I have taught here. How? Present them in your mind's eyes. Hear that their desire has been achieved. When you do that, what has happened? Now, this is what has happened. Just like feeling impresses your concept of self. Your concept of self is what your conscious mind accepts to be true. Feeling then funnels it down into the subconscious. Just like that happens, the way it happens when you pray for somebody is you can actually instruct somebody's, you can actually put an instruction in somebody that the person will embody in his physical world through subconscious to subconscious relationship. If you use this method, that's what you have done, subconscious to. So you have a friend who is having a desire. He wants to embody, he has a problem, he wants to embody the solution to the problem. You don't say anything to him, because if you let him know what you want to do for him, he will bring the obstacle. How are you going to do it for me? The obstacle. So you don't let him know. What you do is just the way subconscious. How does subconscious to subconscious communicate? Through telepathy. So the same way conscious and subconscious communicate through feeling, subconscious and subconscious communicate through telepathy. So through that telepathy, you do this thing. Instead of you're not praying for yourself, you're praying for another. It is through telepathy that you get this done. What you do, instead of doing it for yourself, you do it for another. So what that means is you have communicated to the person's subconscious, and then how the person will embody it is, if the person because you have not told the person physically, I want to do this for you. So there's no blocker, there's no obstacle in the mind. Like, how will you do it for me? I don't have money. There's no limiting obstacle. If you pray successfully and keep that Sabbath day holy and persist, that thing will happen in that person's physical world. And it is through telepathy that there's. So what telepathy means is there is a communication from one subconscious to another subconscious. At the end of the day, it's all subconscious. It's all consciousness. How do you even know this is possible? Let's go to, we're finalizing now. Let's go to let's go to Ecclesiastes 10:20. It says, do not rival the king even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird in the sky may carry your words, and a bird on the wing may report what you have said. Ek 10:20. Let's try and see if we can read another version. There's a particular version I like. Ek 10:20. The one that say and report what you say, but he put it as report the matter. Okay. Even in your thoughts, that's English Standard Version. It says, even in your thoughts, do not curse the king, nor in your bedroom curse the rich. For a bird of the air will carry your voice, or some winged creature tell the matter. What is trying to explain here in this Ecclesiastes 10:20 is the communication that goes in from one conscious to another conscious, subconscious to another subconscious through telepathy. Have you noticed that when you think, you're thinking of a certain way to somebody, you're thinking of somebody in a certain way, the person start reacting to you in a certain way, it's because thoughts are things. Thoughts are actually alive and they are things. You also feel it. You're feeling a certain way about somebody. It's actually because that person is thinking a certain way about you and your subconscious is picking it up. So that's why it is possible to use this model I have taught, the true nature and meaning of prayer. The psychological prayer as psychological movement or psychological or prayer as motion. You can use it for yourself and you can use it for others. Maybe a question will now come. It then means that people can actually use it and do bad things to some other persons. Of course. Yeah. You can. But what will be the motive for you to do bad things to someone? Are you fighting for land? If you're fighting for land and you really want that land, apply this prayer as a motion method. Are you fighting for a position with somebody? Why go to Babalawo to kill the person or do something to the person so that you can take the position? Just apply this motion as a prayer. You will get it, but that person too, because everything is possible and in your imagination, creation is finished. That person too, there's no limitation in your imagination. That person too can get a position that is higher than that one and happily live. Everybody, this particular prayer method doesn't injure anyone. All you need to do is that your desire? Pray using these methods, not the kind of prayer you guys pray in the organized Christian world. You know, that the Bible obviously says don't pray that way. That's not the kind of prayer. You now know what the true prayer is. Pray it. You will embody that, and if you follow all the steps that we have taught here today, at the end of the I once told a friend, we were talking, a colleague by the way, and I told him this: look, no need to fight for a position. Just, have you ever thought that this position that you're fighting for, you can get something better than it and you will leave? Because there's always position better than one. So if you pray it, instead of going to Babalawo, everything will be fine. Everybody, because it doesn't hurt anyone. God is love. So if you want that position, that person can get something that the person wants, that the person adjusts to be better than this, and go. And then you take that position. The person is happy, you're happy. That's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is, can you then use it to maybe somebody offend you and use it? Yes, you can, but to what extent? Why do you want to use it to do evil when you can actually get what you want and everybody will be fine? But again, even in trying to use it to do bad to someone, the only condition where it will work is if the person has that sort of mindset, concept of self for another. What do I mean by that? If you're wishing me bad and I am the kind of person who wishes another person bad, because I am wishing that person bad, another person bad, it means I have a concept of self that is in tune with that bad and wishing another person. If another person wishes me bad, it will appear in my physical world. But if I am not that kind of person that wishes another person bad, if you wish me bad, it will reverse back to you. Yeah, that's what it does. That's how the law of consciousness works. It only focuses on what you accept to be true of yourself and another. In fact, your current visible physical world, that is a mirror image of your inner state, is actually from these 2 points: your concept of self and the concept you have of another. So let's all, since we have the power in us to get what we want, what's the essence of trying to hurt another? Then it becomes useless. There's no need for hurting another, since if I apply this prayer correctly, persist, everybody will be happy at the end of the day. Thank you for listening. I think we have overshot our time today. We try to keep our lectures within 1 hour and less than 1 hour, but I think we have overshot it very much so today. But it's okay. It's because of the importance of prayer, because it is through prayer you bet things in your physical world. Okay, that's why we took time to explain it like that. So if you have any question, please, you can shoot us a direct message, or you can drop it on the comment section here, okay, and we would answer you. Thank you once more for listening. Enjoy your Sunday, and join us again next Sunday at 9 a.m. for another lecture. Have a pleasant rest of the day. Bye.